I feel betrayed. I feel like my government has come and just kicked me in the teeth for no reason.
They're using hundreds of thousands of tax dollars that could be better spent prosecuting real criminals like rapists, robbers, drug dealers. Instead, they're using our resources to go after people who are just making reasonable use of the property. It's ridiculous.
It's a difficult thing to contemplate, but environmentalism has become one of the greatest threats to personal liberties, to private property rights, to free enterprise that we have ever seen in this country.
And all of a sudden, they arrested my father. Maybe 12 federal agents came, literally kidnapped him from his place of business. I get a call at work saying, someone took your father. But it wasn't the regular police. It wasn't any agency we knew of.
We can either have the continuation of a free society, a society that operates under law, or a society gone berserk, where federal agents actually become the criminal element that destroys this country.
Earth Day 1970. The emergence of the organized environmental movement. The dawning of a green age in which environmentalism becomes a political and social force. In the following decades, the green movement becomes more organized, integrates into government, seizing control of environmental policies and governmental activism. The green movement becomes institutionalized. The results are that Congress and government agencies increasingly dictate lives with onerous and pervasive environmental regulations. These laws threaten America's free enterprise system. Under the guise of environmentalism, money and power are now concentrated. Ordinary people are fighting their government for control of their own property. Americans are jailed and private property is taken. How could this happen in our country? How could the simple desire for a healthy environment get turned into a freedom fight? How is it that this seemingly grassroots movement, which captured the hearts and minds of so many Americans, gets seized and twisted, turned into a powerful weapon of the financial elites and the monopolists? These are the questions this program will explore as you come with me and take a look at the real environmentalism as we go behind the green curtain. We all want clean air and water. We want nature to thrive. We also want to prosper and to enjoy the fruits of labor. But in order to be free, we must be able to use our property. Private property is at the heart of all of our other rights. The right to vote, to speak freely, to dissent, to worship. Simply put, without the right to use our property, we have no freedom. Today, however, our private property rights are being destroyed by environmental regulations and laws. And it's not our natural heritage that's being preserved. As we peer behind their green curtain, we'll see the truth. We'll see the green movement's methods, the financial elites who control them, and their ultimate goals.
And what modern environmentalism has really become is the fact that it's driven by money. This grassroots movement that everybody loved in 1970 has lost its way, and it's become the tool of very large money interests in big foundations all over the world.
If the government owns all the land, if the government owns all the wealth, then the government doesn't need you or your vote. The government can operate independent of the will of the people.
Well, the system works like a communism. You buy it, you pay taxes, but you can't do nothing with it. It sounds like communist. I live with a communist. I run away from a communist, but now I see the other side of the picture. It looks just like a communist.
Ron Arnold is the Executive Vice President of the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise in Bellevue, Washington.
Who writes environmental laws? Congress doesn't write those laws. Environmental groups write those laws, and then they go to Congress and get them passed with very expensive lobbying, with all kinds of support from their membership groups sending in letters and telegrams. They have a perfectly orchestrated machine. Once they get those laws in place, they go to the courts, form test cases, then it's cast in concrete. And you get laws that begin to creep forward, like the Endangered Species Act, which started out as a perfectly wonderful way to save the big symbols of America, the bald eagle, the grizzly bear, things that everybody wanted to save. And then as time went on, the bureaucracy decided to build its own empire, and pretty soon they were saving a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And soon there were rules that were never written into the law, and now we have this enormous structure that Congress never wrote.
The environmental movement has grown enormously in the last 20 years. It started with, you know, the clean air, clean water.
Paul Kamenar is the Executive Legal Director for the Washington Legal Foundation.
Now it's basically taken on a whole ecosystem type of an approach where the whole earth needs to be protected, that we have to protect not only the wildlife but the habitat of the wildlife. Then you need buffer zones to the habitat and buffer zones to the wetlands, and the buffer zones need buffer zones, and before you know it, they're regulating your backyard. It's just grown exponentially over the last 20 years, and there needs to be a limit put to this kind of nonsense.